Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So this week is number 33 in the Auric programming journey, and this has to do with neurotransmitters. And think of these as like chemical messengers that, either can excite the body, inhibit the body, it basically can help shift the states of the body. And the place that we would really see it, or the way that you could think about it is, basically it has to do with thresholds. And like if you think about your pain threshold, the idea of the threshold is like you have so much stimuli before it makes you like change your behavior, right? Like so if you're touching something and it's mildly hot, you're like, no, it's not really going to do anything. But then as you're touching that surface and the temperature rises and rises and rises, you start to have these reactions in the body where, in that particular area, it's going to be like, messaging that is exciting, like, hey, take your hand off that. And then the threshold is you reach a point where then there's a behavior that goes into place. I'm going to pull my hand off, right? So this idea of the transmitters has a lot to do with thresholds. Even the idea of thresholds, we think of it sometimes as something negative, but we can also have positive thresholds that, then we pass that threshold and makes us uncomfortable. Like if somebody's being too nice to us, or, you see sometimes where, a couple, maybe when they're younger and they're getting close or whatever, it's like they they have a really good connection for a few days or a week, and things get a little stronger and a little bit more intense, and they're really starting to have feelings for each other, and then boom, a fight breaks out. Like I can only handle so much love before, ugh, I can only handle so much peace. I can only handle so much whatever. And then we have to cause a change. And so, I was doing service for one of my early teachers one time, and he let me do it for a while. I was just doing things that would help improve his life, and it was my way of giving back. And after three or four times, he was like, why are you doing this? Like you could see that he was getting a little uncomfortable. And after about, what was it, about like eight or nine times, um, he was really uncomfortable with it. And part of it was, the students that he had weren't, that wasn't a thing that they did. And, I just loved him and wanted to do something nice for him. But, none of us are immune from it, is what I'm trying to get to. Like he hit his threshold and then you could see him getting uncomfortable. And so it's not always a positive thing. And I'd say the area that this manifested for me, especially when I was young, is I could only handle things going so well before I would do something to like pump the brakes, or, start procrastinating or blow up a situation. And, I was hoping for this and this would come, and God, it would make me uncomfortable and I would push it away, until a couple of my friends like had a little intervention and said, like, look, like you gotta knock this off. Like you're really, behaving in a way that's kind of weird. And I'm sure it just was like for myself, like self-esteem, self-image, but it wasn't like I was even thinking things out. I was like having body reactions to these things. And it's another way of saying conditioning and conditioned responses, and the wear and tear of the years. And so this is a way to help go through and regulate this aspect so that as we start to have new experiences and break out of our patterns, that we're able to let them in and not push back or procrastinate or run away from them or whatever it might be. It helps you kind of push through and, allow something in, or ability to push through and resolve something rather than just having a body reaction, right? So in that, your blend is threshold. Threshold. So you're going to start taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is on the left side of your body, the left side of your face and neck, your left shoulder, your left hip, down the leg to the left outer ankle. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. She works so hard. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the left side of your body. Move your awareness to the front side of your body, your face and neck, your chest, your abdomen, front of your pelvis, down the fronts of your legs to the tops of your feet. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. The right side of your body, the whole right side. Right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, right ribs and hip, down the outer leg to the right, outer ankle. The whole right side of your body. And then the back side of your body, the whole back side, back of your head and neck, your whole back, your hips, down the backs of your legs to your heels. The whole back side. And then pause and be still. Notice how you feel. How does that treat you? What's that? Yeah. Okay, so that's the standard approach. That's something that you can do on a daily basis. You can integrate into other processes that you might be doing, especially things that have to do with like maybe pain or like being triggered, homeostatic emotions, things of that nature. But now we're going to do the advanced approach, and you would do this only maybe 1 or 2 times a week so your body can process it. And here we go. Again, your awareness is on the left side of your body, your whole left side of your face, your left shoulder, your left hip, all the way down to the left outer ankle. The whole left side of the body. And then let's move to the back side of the body. Back of your head and neck, down your whole back, your hips, down the backs of your legs to your heels. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is on the right side of your body, right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, your right hip, all the way down to the right outer ankle. And then the front side of the body, the whole front side, your face and throat, your chest, abdomen, down the fronts of your legs to the tops of your feet. And you're just being still, just letting go. Begin inhaling, your awareness is on your knees. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on your knees. You can do the whole knee or just the back knee, like the crease in the backside of the knee. Move your awareness to the ankles. Your awareness is on the ankles. The soles of your feet. Your awareness is on the soles of your feet. And then just pause and let go. Just let go. Your awareness is on the left side of your body again, left side of your face and neck, your left shoulder, all the way down to the left outer ankle. The front side of your body, your awareness is on the whole front side of your body, face, throat, your chest, your abdomen, front of your pelvis, down the fronts of your legs to the tops of your feet. The right side of your body, right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, right hip, down the outer leg to the right outer ankle. Your awareness is on the whole backside of the body, back of the head and neck, your whole back and hips, down the backs of your legs to your heels. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Just pause and let go. Just pause and let go. Just be still. Now, this last piece, your awareness is on the brain. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is on the brain. Your awareness is on the spine. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the spine. The brain and spine both at the same time. the brain and the soles of your feet, both at the same time. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then as you inhale, you're inhaling up above the ankle as you're exhaling down into the earth. Inhale up, exhale down. And then just pause and let go. Just pause and let go. Just let it incubate for a moment. Notice your body, your emotions, your thoughts. How did you do? How did that feel?
My first standard approach, I just like kind of got sleepy, and then at the very end of this one, I'm like, oh, I feel a little more clear. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is really like if you just boil it down, when the body tends to get overly excited or it tends to be overly inhibited. You know, like I just can't get going, or your body's processes aren't moving, or, you know, I would even throw this in at like procrastination or something like that. But, you know, anytime there's big fluctuations of either an excited state or an inhibited state, you know, like even forms of depression could be thrown into this realm. And so, you know, for me, I find that like it helps the emotions to be a little bit more regulated, because keep in mind, a lot of the emotions are homeostatic, you know, they are generated by the body. And so they are, you know, either being inhibited where you don't feel really anything, or you're, you know, overreacting to things. And so this can be helpful for that. And so, also for states of healing, like especially for pain, like I say, pain is a big one for most people where our body just starts reacting, and it could be emotional pain, mental pain, could be a old situation, you know, the body still feels like it's happening. So to be able to go through and treat that and to regulate things, I mean, it can be quite the blessing. Like this was my, remember a couple of years ago, this was my jam, like the threshold blend. I mean, you know, I was like every situation. And another thing about threshold, but it, because it had such an impact on me, like, you know, it was very regulating to things. And I still visit it from time to time, but there was like 2 or 3 months where it was just all I was doing. So anyway, let's go ahead and do shares and questions. You can unmute yourself, type in. Let's keep the first couple minutes just to the Auric programming, and then after that, we'll do our normal Q&A, and let's see where this goes.
Yeah, so you can raise your hand, you can unmute yourself. I am going to make it in chat so you can share with everyone if you so choose. But remember, if you want to keep it a private chat, you do need to press that blue button. That kind of looks pen with paper kind of outline. And go ahead, Denise.
Hey.
Hello. Greg, will you once again kind of break down what threshold is about for me? I'm missing it.
So it's the threshold is when your body gets either too excited or too inhibited to the point where it starts to change your behavior, your actions, your emotion, or even like your physiological processes. So neurotransmitters are the aspects that either excite the body or inhibit the body. They're like chemical messengers. And so the threshold, you know, on some levels is your ability to shift, but if the body's overly excited or overly inhibited, your ability to shift usually is turns into a negative adaptive strategy,
Mm.
where you're doing things to avoid something or you're, overreacting, something along that
So
line.
this would help balance, help bring
Yes.
more
Yeah.
neutrality. Okay.
Right. Right. Like more regulated. Like, you don't want to be like a robot and then, there's a situation where, you know, you should be afraid and you should run and, you should be concerned. You know what I mean? So
Correct.
it doesn't like shut that down, but if it's excess or like not really, a lot of times what happens is our body just starts to go in these excited states. And it's just usually being triggered by something from the past or a conditioned response. It's not based on what's in front of us. And also shutting down, like if
Mm.
you think about um uh there's fight, flight, and freeze. Like if you think of the freeze aspect, it's all of a sudden everything gets inhibited. Like you don't run, you don't fight, you don't do anything, and something bad happens, but it's because of like inaction. It's like the neurotransmitters like shut down the body's processes because a lot of times the physiology or past experiences make us a little too overwhelmed or we get a little too scared or whatever that might be. So it would help to regulate and balance. So it doesn't necessarily make anything go away. It just
Mm.
like your body processes are still there, but it makes it more appropriate. And I find that like, I use pain for example because that's usually something that people can relate to or you can use it as an example is like think about times if you've ever gotten injured, you get injured and it's like the pain, and then you start inhaling tarragon, and then all of a sudden the pain went from a 10 to a 5, and all that really happened was that you calmed down that excited state in the body, and
Mm.
in doing so the pain went from something crazy to, it still hurts, but it's like it starts to be kind of tolerable. Because like if you look at pain and you looked at it under an energetic microscope, right? Like, you step away from the way that pain gets looked at by Western medicine, and you go, okay, let's look at the energetic molecules. You know, there is these aspects that have to do with your physiology and your nervous system and the immune system and the endocrine system, and then how your mind's kind of processing it. But in that, part of pain is a homeostatic emotional response.
Mm.
It's not like, oh, our emotions are getting a hold of us. Your body is trying to get your attention and does it by generating some emotion. So it says, like, hey, look, there's a problem. Something is compromised. This shoulder is compromised. So it shoots pain and there's an emotional response so that you'll take some sort of action. The difficulty is that the body really doesn't differentiate between what happens in the body and what happens in the environment. And then sometimes when we have things that have happened to us in the past, our emotions and mind have moved past it, but part of us in our body, the body hasn't moved past it yet. The body still thinks it's happening, or it could happen again at the drop of a hat. Even though it might have been some weird situation 20 years ago, your body is still being vigilant about that. And so what starts to happen is you start to have these like kind of triggered responses where you either shut down or you overreact or you get triggered, whatever it might be. And a lot of times we're reacting to the past. We're not really reacting to the present. And mentally and emotionally, you might, but your body is like, hey, I remember this, or this has been happening since, 1972, and it hasn't, but the body thinks it has.
Mm.
The body doesn't have the resolution that the mind and emotion has. Like, the body's always about like how the nervous system had to adjust and adapt, and then the processes that kind of go along with it. And so, you know, we think the body thinks like us, and it
Mm.
does not. It is a completely different animal. Like it does not have the cognitive ability that the mind does, and it doesn't have the emotional capacity that, the heart has or the solar plexus. It runs on different parameters. And so it's almost like learning its behavior so you know how to like temper it,
Mm.
you know, because you're not going to make these things go away, but you want them to not like rule the house. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
You
Take
know?
front and
Yeah,
center
yeah.
stage, so to speak. 'Cause,
Just because it's throwing a fit doesn't mean it gets to be the one in charge. And really, you're trying to keep it from throwing a fit.
yeah.
And yeah.
Really well
You know,
said. Thank you. Very well said.
one of the areas that I would notice, like when for myself, like I think it's a little bit different for different people, but like as I was kind of starting to get triggered, I used to get this little twitch in the back of my neck, and I'm like, "Ugh, I'm about to get crazy," like whatever it was, I could start feeling my neck twitching, like on just in the back, and I'd be like, ah. I wasn't even sure what was happening, but like I could feel my body like winding up for something. And usually it was maybe something upsetting, but it was like this. But my body was like, this is happening. Like this right here is happening. And, I know what it was tied to from my youth, but, emotionally, mentally, I had gone through and processed it, but I left the body behind. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So I had to go back and get that body out of the cage and say, okay, it's over. Put an army blanket around you. Here's some cocoa. Like it's done. It's over. Like uh, we usually don't acknowledge that part of the body and the things that it goes through. And so this is just one of those areas where it helps like you said, balance everything out. Like, it doesn't mean we don't get upset, and it doesn't mean we don't maybe not have emotions, but we don't carry that backpack of emotions from all the years ago. We just kind of are reacting to the here and now.
Excellent. Thank you,
Yeah,
Greg.
you're so
Wonderful.
yeah.
Well, I was gonna share even for me, I feel a little stronger. Like my
Yeah,
body actually
yeah,
feels like
yeah. You feel like you could take a punch a little
yeah,
bit, or
yeah.
yeah.
Someone's asking, let me see what it is. Would it ever be helpful to apply threshold to the wrists or take internally?
I tried the internal thing. I don't think it improved anything. I think inhalation putting it on the body definitely works. You could put it on the wrist, like a neat or in a little jojoba or something. I also like to put it on the heart. Um, I went through this whole thing where I'd even put it on like my hurt spots, my angry spots, where the emotion. I don't know that it did anything for that, but like sitting and inhaling and doing the body awareness was very impactful. And then I was rubbing it on my feet and on the wrist and on the heart. And I will say, I do think that was having an impact. Another thing that I was doing was salt baths. I would do a salt bath with Threshold, and it seemed like if the body was starting to like peak in pain, like the pain was like how like you're like, I can only handle so much more. It would take the edge off, but I didn't feel like I was so close to a line where I was gonna, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna lose it, or I need to just shut down and go lay down, and um it like kind of what you said, like you feel stronger, like you don't feel like you're on your last nerve or it's the last straw, or yeah.
Yeah. So I do have another share, but I wanted to let you guys know if you wanted to raise your hand in the chat right now to get yourself for the regular Q&A, go ahead and do that.
I want to say one more thing about Threshold. Think of it like this. Like I think like Denise got it, and I think everybody, but think about like times when you're frustrated, right? And you're frustrated 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 and frustrated. And then what happens? You get a little angry, right? The frustration took you to a threshold, and then at some point, ugh, you went to anger. And the anger didn't really resolve anything. It was just kind of this thing that happened. But that right there is a kind of like neurotransmitter issue. And like if the threshold wasn't as like agitated, like you could be frustrated, 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 but instead of like losing it and getting angry, you'd be frustrated, and then you'd go, Ugh, okay, I gotta step back. I gotta figure out how to resolve this. You know, most people don't react that way. If you get frustrated to some point, at some point you kind of snap a little bit. And, think of the threshold aspect is like your snapping point, you know. So anyway.
Yeah, no, thanks for that too. Someone shared when we hit the somatic part, I can't stop yawning.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. This is a good one. There's even this thing where I've treated people for this, um, but where people actually start to have allergic reactions, but to either heat or cold. Like it's not an allergen in the air, but like if you get to a certain point where you get cold, their body starts to have like an allergic reaction. And same with heat. It has a certain kind of allergic reaction, and all that is a threshold. Like you can only handle so much, and then the body has this weird reaction. And the reason why it's like pointed out is it 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 wasn't excessively cold or hot. It was like kind of cold. And then their body would have this reaction. They were like I put a jacket on, da da da, da, nothing really happens. And it was like everybody else is fine and comfortable, but like their body goes into freak out mode. And you know, like that's another version of it, you know.
Yeah, thanks for all these examples. So next week, guys, we are on our programming number 34, which is oneness, and your oil is the void. So have that ready. Love for you guys to join us live like we did just